Nearly 2 million Ontarians have some kind of disability that makes getting through the day a little more challenging. And the province itself has set the year 2025 as the deadline for getting rid of many of the obstacles to making Ontario truly barrier-free. We have two champions of disability issues with us tonight, whose goal is to ensure that the next government makes more progress on these issues than the last many have. David Lepofsky is head of the AODA Alliance. That's the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance. And you may also remember Yvonne Felix, who visited our program not too long ago wearing that device that helps her see, despite her being legally blind. David and Yvonne, it's great to have you back here at TVO.
It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming in. David, I want you just to set the table for us here, because I want you to remind us of the resolution that the Ontario legislature unanimously passed several years ago, promising a barrier-free Ontario by 2025. What does that actually mean?
Well, 19 years ago, the legislature unanimously passed a resolution saying we need a law. And 13 years ago this month, they actually passed the law unanimously. Dalton McGuinty brought it in, which he promised to do, and all the parties supported it.
What does it commit them to do?
It sets a goal that Ontario must become fully accessible to people with all kinds of disabilities, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, sensory disabilities, the whole spectrum. But it's not just aspirational. It puts someone in charge, and in charge is the government of Ontario. Not that the government goes out and fixes everybody else's barriers. They're required to pass a series of regulations called accessibility standards that tell people, obligated organizations, what they got to do, when they got to do it by, to become fully accessible. And then the government's supposed to enforce those standards so people always comply.
Let's do a reality check then, Yvonne. In your life over the last many years, does it feel like Ontario is becoming more friendly to people with disabilities?
So I'm going to say yes and no. I know personally that there are many resources out there that the Ontario government has tried to put into place. However, providing the technology that builds that bridge between the services and the individual, I'm going to say we're falling short on that end.
The device that you're wearing right now, do you get any public sector help for the purchase or the renting or however you contract the use of that device?
No, currently as it stands, this device has to come out of the pockets of individuals who are living with low vision.
And it in effect helps you see, right?
It's not even about being able to see, it's being able to access myself as an individual and my skill set. Like, for example, one of the individuals that I work with currently, I can't even believe to tell you stories that I've heard, people becoming visually impaired on their way to work. They get to work, and Steve, could you imagine if you went blind on your way to work and the unfortunate loss that the Ontario citizens would have who get to watch this show? Could you imagine if someone said to you, you're going to be fired, plus we're not going to help you get the assistance you need to do this job? That's what's happening in Ontario right now.
Which is a bit strange, because if you needed a wheelchair, there would be assistance in helping you get that wheelchair.
Yes.
But not for the device you're wearing to help you see.
That's right.
That feels inconsistent, am I wrong?
Very inconsistent.
Very inconsistent. David, you and your organization have sort of crunched the platforms of all of the major parties, the four major parties in Ontario, Liberals, Conservatives, New Democrats, and Greens, and come to some conclusions about all of the promises they're making. Can you tell us, first of all, have they made commitments that you think are at least in the ballpark of what's reasonable and what you'd like to hear?
Some have, some haven't. So we're nonpartisan, so we canvass all the parties as we or our predecessor coalition has done for the past, this is our 7th election doing this. We tell them what we need, and then we let people know what they've said, and we size up what they've said, and voters will decide what they'll decide. In a nutshell, we are now in 2018. The next government, the one that's elected in June, is really in the decisive position to figure whether we're going to get back on schedule to reach full accessibility by 2025, or whether we've lost that goal. Because they're going to be
get back on schedule,
because we're behind schedule. The way we've made some progress since 2005, but by all accounts, we are not anywhere near on schedule. There's a lot more that needs to be done, and more quickly. So what did we do? We laid out a series of requests for the parties. It's all up on our website at aodaalliance.org, and said, this is what needs to be done, and asked what the parties would do. We've made public the results. Here's the rank order, if you will. The Green Party has made the most commitments and really did say it supports everything we've asked for. Next in line, not making all the commitments we need, but substantial number of them, is the New Democrats. Significantly behind that are the Liberals, who've made some commitments, but they're way softer and nowhere near all of what we need. The Liberals get credit for passing this law and getting a good start on implementing it, but more recently they've flagged in their implementation of it. And behind them are the Conservatives, which have essentially said, we agree with the law and we recognize the problems and we will consult on what to do. I'm synthesizing what they say, but they don't make any specific concrete suggestions of what they will do once elected beyond consulting us.
Okay, well, let me follow up with Yvonne on that. I mean, elections first and foremost are about rendering a verdict on the government of the day, and then if people decide they don't like that, they think about what the alternative is. As you consider the record of the current Liberal government, what letter grade would you give them?
Oh, me personally, I'll keep that a secret. I would say if I were to look at the bigger picture, the letter grade for the Liberal government is that they're currently failing. They're currently failing individuals. They're looking at people as if they know exactly what to do, and we look to government to assist us. And right now, if someone were to lose their vision, going to the Liberal government would mean you'd be put on a waiting list and said, we don't know how to deal with you.
All right, having said that, do you have any reason to believe that any of the other parties, were they to be in power, would be any better?
I'm listening. I'm waiting and I'm listening.
Are you hearing anything you like yet?
No, and I would love, I have a pledge form. I would love to send it to any of the candidates. If they're willing to sign it, to pledge that they're going to take a look at devices like eSight that actually bridge the gap between not being able to access who individuals are in a quality life and being able to live and have equal access to equality. Right now, saying that there is a reasonable access, employers, insurance, educators are allowed to provide reasonable access. What about full access? So if anyone would like to sign that pledge form, I am happy to meet with them and provide that.
eSight is the name of the device that you're wearing right now, is that right? Okay, good. David, you know, I've got to ask you this question, which is, the Liberals, I understand your criticism with the Liberals, but you know, we have to understand whether there's any reasonable expectation that if any other party were in power, they'd be doing any better. What's your thought?
Well, we always face the issue of whether parties will take what they promise and translate it into action. At the very least, at this stage, we can go on what they've committed. What we are doing is not simply resting on what they've committed. We are, and as I said, we're not urging anyone to vote one way or another. We are now unleashing a campaign, and on our website will be an action kit on exactly how to do this, where we want to go after the parties that have made the fewest commitments during this campaign and press them to make more. And the way we want to do that is bottom up. We've asked the party leaders. We heard what they had to say. In the case of Kathleen Wynne and Doug Ford, it's nowhere near enough. And we are going to urge candidates to go to all candidates meetings, to use Twitter, whatever they can use to get to the candidates in their riding, ask them to personally commit that they support doing more than what their party's offered, and that they will try pressing their own leader to come forward with more commitments before this election is done.
Gotcha.
Because we think that every day of the election campaign is an opportunity to get stronger commitments. We'd like to end up with all the parties making the same strong commitments.
Okay. David, I'm going to get both of you now to start commenting on something that, David, your organization put up on YouTube not too long ago, which is, it's actually a very thorough video that takes us through a number of different locations inside the Greater Toronto Area and indicates why, if you're a person dealing with either visual impairment or a physical disability, something like that, these are real problems for you in your everyday life. And why don't we just show the first one here? Here's roll-in number one. We want to show how what looks like a very fancy design of columns sort of leaning in as opposed to being built straight up, how it's a problem for people who can't see because, well, David, your own experience is you bump into these things, right?
You can whack your head on it.
Yeah. Now, I mean, why would they design something that way?
You're asking the wrong guy. They shouldn't be doing it. I think it's a combination of design professionals like architects who too often are more interested in being Picasso and coming up with pretty designs rather than designs that are actually ones that all people can use. And then there's the client, in this case it's the government of Ontario itself, who approves the design rather than saying, no, we shouldn't be letting blind people or sighted people who are texting whack their head on a pillar on a train platform.
And where was that?
That's on the newly renovated platforms in the GO Transit concourse of Toronto's Union Station. Okay. This is not old construction. Our video deals with either brand new buildings, transit stations, or recently renovated ones. So it's not a matter of saying, oh, they built these years ago and didn't know better.
No, it's a $1 billion retrofit of Union Station. It's all new stuff.
And in the case of the other things in the video, it's actually brand new subway stations in Toronto as well.
That's coming. Hold off for that.
Sure.
Yvonne, I want to ask you. Now, David obviously uses a cane to get around, and as he's tapping his cane, he's getting a false sense of security because he taps the bottom of the pillar, and he thinks he has, you know, X number of inches to walk, and in fact he has fewer than that because of the pillar leaning in. You don't use a white cane to get around, but so has this ever been a problem for you, this kind of architecture?
Oh, before I had eSight, it was absolutely a problem. I found over the years, why is accessibility an afterthought? Why do we still think about stairs instead of a ramp in design? So it blows my mind that when I get onto a platform, I am fortunate enough to have something that allows me to see that pillar 20 feet away, 30 feet away, 100 feet away. However, I can also see people on the platform who are using canes who are walking into these pillars. Right. Accessibility is an afterthought. Technology that allows you to have access is an afterthought. It's not on the forefront.
David, we're going to show another example here, and you call these things, we're going to have a still picture come up here. You call these things, I gather, tactile walking indicator strips. We're at number 10 here. There we go. Now, anybody who's taken the subway sees these sort of yellow strips along the edge.
The bumpy surface on the floor right at the edge.
To make sure you don't, obviously, if you're blind, you don't walk into the...
you don't fall over the edge, and they're brightly color contrasted, so people like Yvonne, who are low vision, can also get the safety protection.
Exactly. Now, these things obviously are extremely important to you.
Absolutely.
But there are... Now, let's show the video coming up, because I think we've got a piece of video on this as well, which shows these tactile walking indicator strips. There you are. You're walking down the stairs now, and I gather you can feel that tactile strip, but this tactile strip sends you right into a building.
Okay, into a wall.
Yes.
So there's two different reasons you have these strips. Either for safety warning, like at the edge of a subway platform, and it's great when they do that. They should always do that. Yeah. The other way they're helpful is as a wayfinding guide. It's our yellow brick road. So walking in a subway station or other location, it can be your guide for how to navigate. And the problem at the York University, the brand new York University subway station, though I've seen this elsewhere as well, is that I'm using it to guide me, and it walks me right into a wall. Thanks very much, that's not where I want to be guided.
How is it that sort of, I mean, presumably that strip is there in the first place to help people who have vision problems.
That's exactly, that's the reason it's there.
So then why would they direct you into a wall?
Again, you're asking the wrong guy. The problems we depict in this video are the result of three things. The first is that our legislation, our building code, our access standards on the built environment are grossly inadequate. You can build a new building and fully comply with them and still create a building that has significant accessibility problems. We've been telling the government this for years. Now they've, in this election, said they're prepared to do further consultations to figure out how to solve this, but they haven't actually solved it or committed to timelines or specific action. The second problem is that design professionals like architects can get a license to practice their trade without knowing how to design a building that is truly accessible for all of us who have different disabilities. And the third problem is, in this case, the client who's given the orders, the government, whether it's Metrolinx, the provincial government, or the Toronto Transit Commission municipally, is sitting back. They should know better. They shouldn't need us to tell us not to lead us into walls, but they still approve plans that do. And those problems conspire together to create a real problem, not only in older buildings, but in new buildings, brand new buildings.
Yvonne, have you seen this being an issue as well? These tactile, whatever, what'd you call them, David?
Tactile walking surface indicators.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I can tell you I commute every day from Hamilton to Toronto.
How?
And on the go.
Go train,
so
okay.
So I do use those platforms. And one of the things that I notice, and I have to sit back and laugh a little bit, because I can see, I use the wayfinding. That is how I grew up, that is how I learned how to navigate. And to use the wayfinding with my eyes and to see that I'm ending up at a wall, to see that there are people using these methods, and that it is, again, a secondary thought. It's like someone got halfway and that thought, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. They'll figure it out the rest of the way. Yeah. They'll touch the wall when they get there. No, we're still thinking with our eyes, with all of our senses, and that is not how accessibility works.
Let me translate this into how it's turning out in the election pledges, just to build on what we said before. The Greens have said they won't use public money to create new barriers. That's good. The NDP have said the same thing. That's good. The Liberals have said the same thing, but they said that in the last election, and look at the new public transit stations and other that were, and renovated ones that were opened under their watch. And in fact, if you read the Premier's response to our survey, she actually says, as an example of how they're going to do it, look at what they've done in public transit. Well, look at our video and you'll see exactly how badly it's been done. Now, the Conservatives have not made this pledge in Doug Ford's response to us. He has not specifically committed that the Conservative Party, if elected, will never use public money to create new barriers against people with disabilities.
And just to be clear here, there were, was it 6 new subway stations that were opened on the Young University Spadina subway line?
That is correct.
And they're all featuring these problems.
They all have a number, have at least one, if not more, of the problems that we identified.
We're going to do another one here. We got the last of the images that we're going to bring up here right now. This is, in fact, the York University platform. And I guess just for people who, because you look at this picture and you think, well, there's not necessarily anything wrong with what we're seeing here. There's that yellow strip to make sure that nobody goes into the pit by accident. But I guess people who don't normally ride the subways need to understand that there's 2 ways these things work. There's either one single platform in the middle where people can access either a northbound or a southbound train, or elsewhere on the line, the trains are in the middle and you have your own platform on the side.
Right.
One for each direction.
Yeah, a northbound platform and a southbound platform.
And that's the kind you prefer, is that right, David?
Yeah, because there's a wall. You know, when there's a center platform, you got to drop off in front of you, you got to drop off behind you. That's unsafe for everyone. And we blind folks need a shoreline we can navigate along, and the only one we've got on the center...
a shoreline refers to?
Meaning literally an edge that can guide us along the way. Well, you can't use their tactile walking surface indicators if they walk you into a wall. And you don't want to use the edge of the subway platform because that's dangerous. The TTC announcements warn you to stay away from the edge.
So most of the platforms on the Yonge Street line, for example, are one platform going north, one platform going south, and it's not an issue.
I don't know if it's most, but a good number of them are the old design of having, and they're better because you've got a wall behind you, you got a platform under your feet, and then you've got the tracks in front of you. You can put your back to the wall, wait for the train to come in. It's safer for everybody, including parents with kids who are terrified that the kids could fall over the edge. And we warned the government about this when we found it 3 years ago in 2014, when we found out that this was the center platform design, the dangerous design,
and they did
was
it anyway.
The one they were planning for the Eglinton line. Well, I don't know what they haven't told us what the final design of the Eglinton line is going to be. But when they opened the ones on the University line going up to Vaughan Station, they made this problem. If I could just tell people, if people want to see this video, I know you may post the link, but for people who may not be able to read the link or see it on your screen, if you go to YouTube and just search on AODA and public transit, and you could watch this video. Okay.
Yvonne, I want to ask you a real nasty question here. You ready?
Okay. Ready.
If the people who design these things were to say something like, look, we design these things for the 85% of the population that can see, that is able-bodied, which is the vast majority of the people who use this public transit. That's our mission, that's what we're supposed to do. And, you know, we're sorry it doesn't work for you guys, but 85% of the people are very happy with what we've done. What's the response?
So my response is that, well, I'd like to inform you that most of the accessibility designs that were created, like example for ramps or texting, make your able-bodied life easier. you get to benefit from a ramp. You get to benefit from texting. Texting was designed for people with hearing impairments. Ramps were designed for people with who need access to stairs, to bypass stairs for mobility purposes. So to design for 85% of the population, I would say you don't know the population, because the population wants things to be a lot easier. And thank goodness for people with disabilities, I guess we're the platform to make that happen.
Not only that, but if you think of it, everybody watching this show tonight either has a disability now, or has a spouse or a child or a parent with a disability, or will get one later, because all you got to do is grow older. Getting older is the biggest cause of disability. That's why we say that people with disabilities are the minority of everyone. So when they design a new building, a new transit station, whatever it may be with these barriers, they're ultimately not just hurting a minority, they're hurting the minority of everyone. It's just bad design.
And David, if you were to say, look, there is a transit system all its own in Toronto for people who have disabilities. It's called Wheel-Trans. Why don't you use that as opposed to the main system?
Well, for one thing, it's second-class service. You can't just walk out, order it, and it's there in 10 minutes. You got to book it the day before, wait in line, stand around for a half hour, hoping they'll show up on time, and so on. And second, a lot of people who have disabilities don't qualify for it. And third, the whole goal that the government has, and commendably so, is to get as many people as possible using the conventional system. It's cheaper, it's better, and therefore there is no excuse for creating accessibility barriers in hopes that somehow Wheel-Trans, which is overloaded and backlogged, will somehow pick up the slack.
Yvonne, I'm down to my last 30 seconds here, and I just want to know how hopeful you are that with the pressure being brought to bear by people like you and David, that Ontario actually will meet its targets of being barrier-free by 2025.
I think if you eliminate the word hope and ask people to take action now, do something about it. We've run out of time. This is the last chance. It's going to be 2025 soon. Go to your member of parliament, go to your employer, go to your insurance company, your educator, get your mom and dad, get everyone you know out there voting and standing up and saying what needs to be done, and the accessibility needs to happen now.
Terrific. I want to thank both of you for coming into TVO tonight. Mr. Lepofsky, it's a bit of an annual thing for you. It's good to have you back here.
Always a delight.
And Yvonne Felix, nice to have you back in our studio as well.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.